supposed to go over all sorts of tracks, but even so it became impossible, and most of the time we had to walk. So we got to a place called Ashkaun, where there was a sheikh, and there were some Moroccan soldiers. And by that time, my friends who had come that far didn't believe in the staircase anymore, and I could see that they had very discouraged faces. So I went up to the sheikh, and I said to him, "There's a little question I would like to ask. You see the Sirwa over there, we can see it on the horizon, and I think that towards the west, facing the setting sun and the valley of the Sousse, there must be some rocks that perhaps look a little bit like a staircase." So he looked at me and he said, "Madame, you're talking about the geological staircase of Mount Sirwa, one of the most extraordinary marvels of the Atlas, the giant steps." There they were. So you see, the theory was built on something.
We spoke of the Herbiger theory, according to which external celestial events, like the capturing of the moon within the Earth's gravitational field, precipitate a catastrophe. To Herbiger, it is these external catastrophes which terminate each Earth age. The most significant support for this idea has come from the work of Dr. Immanuel Velikovsky, author of two vastly controversial books, Worlds in Collision and Ages in Chaos.
First, I have to say what are the central theory of my work, or central idea. The central idea is that in historical times, also prehistoric times, also pre-human times, this Earth of ours was not ever a abode of peaceful existence. It was so that in middle of the second millennium BC, the Earth underwent catastrophic encounter with another celestial body, which I identify in my first book, Worlds in Collision. A second series of disturbance came in the time of the great Hebrew prophets, 8th century BC. Human implications are very many in every respect. We have to consider that those catastrophes have left deep wounds in human soul. Nobody today can claim not to be a descendant of survivors of those catastrophes.
It is an established fact that the most terrifying events of childhood are often forgotten, their memory blotted out from consciousness and displaced into the unconscious mind, where they continue to live and to express themselves in bizarre forms of fear. One of the most terrifying events in the past of mankind was the conflagration of the world, accompanied by awful apparitions in the sky, quaking of the earth, vomiting of lava by thousands of volcanoes, melting of the ground, boiling of the sea, submersion of continents, a primeval chaos bombarded by flying hot stones, the roaring of the cleft earth, and the loud hissing of tornadoes of cinders. There occurred more than one world conflagration. The memory of the cataclysms was erased not because of lack of written traditions, but because of some characteristic process that later caused entire nations, together with their literate men, to read into these traditions allegories or metaphors where actually cosmic disturbances were clearly described. It is a psychological phenomenon in the life of individuals as well as whole nations that the most terrifying events of the past may be forgotten or displaced into the subconscious mind, as if obliterated are impressions that should be unforgettable. To uncover their vestiges and their distorted equivalents in the physical life of peoples is a task not unlike that of overcoming amnesia in a single person.
Elsewhere in Worlds in Collision, Dr. Velikovsky writes, "In the annals of ancient Etruria were records of 7 elapsed ages. Censorinus, an author of the 3rd Christian century, wrote that men thought that different prodigies appeared, by means of which the gods notified mortals at the end of each age. The Etruscans were versed in the science of the stars, and after having observed the prodigies with attention, they recorded these observations in their books." The Greeks had similar traditions. "There is a period," wrote Censorinus, "called the Supreme Year by Aristotle, at the end of which the sun, moon, and all the planets return to their original position. This Supreme Year has a great winter, called by the Greeks Cataclysmos, which means deluge, and a great summer, called by the Greeks ekpyrosis, or combustion of the world. The world actually seems to be inundated and burned alternately in each of these epochs." Similar traditions of 4 expired ages persist on the shores of the Bengal Sea and in the highland of Tibet. The present age is the 5th. The sacred Hindu book Bhagavata Purana tells of 4 ages and of pralayas, or cataclysms, in which, in various epochs, mankind was nearly destroyed. The 5th age is that of the present. The world ages are called kalpas, or yugas. Each world age met its destruction in catastrophes of conflagration, flood, and hurricane. Azur Vedam and Bhagavedam, sacred Hindu books, keeping to the scheme of 4 expired ages, differed only in the number of years ascribed to each. In the chapter World Cycles, in Visuddhi Magga, it is said that there are 3 destructions: the destruction by water, the destruction by fire, the destruction by wind, but that there are 7 ages, each of which is separated from the previous one by a world catastrophe. Reference to ages and catastrophes is found in Avesta, Zendavesta, the sacred scriptures of Mazdaism, the ancient religion of the Persians. Bahman Yast, one of the books of Avesta, counts 7 world ages or millennia. Zarathustra, Zoroaster, the prophet of Mazdaism, speaks of the signs, wonders, and perplexity which are manifested in the world at the end of each millennium. The Chinese called the perished ages keys, and numbered 10 keys from the beginning of the world until Confucius. In the ancient Chinese encyclopedia Sing Li Tat Suen Chu, the general convulsions of nature are discussed. Because of the periodicity of these convulsions, the span of time between 2 catastrophes is regarded as a great year. As during a year, so during a world age, the cosmic mechanism winds itself up, and in general convulsion of nature, the sea is carried out of its bed, mountains spring out of the ground, rivers change their course, human beings and everything are ruined, and the ancient traces effaced. In the chronicles of the Mexican kingdom, it is said, the ancients knew that before the present sky and earth were formed, man was already created, and life had manifested itself 4 times. A tradition of successive creations and catastrophes is found in the Pacific, on Hawaii, and on the islands of Polynesia. There were 9 ages, and in each a different sky was above the earth. Icelanders, too, believed that 9 worlds went down in a succession of ages, a tradition that is contained in the Edda. The rabbinical conception of ages crystallized in the post-exilic period. Already before the birth of our Earth, worlds had been shaped and brought into existence, only to be destroyed in time. He made several worlds before ours, but he destroyed them all. This Earth, too, was not created